Welcome, everyone. I'm Christine Chen. This is Esalen Live. We're so glad that you're with us today. Some of you may not know that we are open for business at Esalen, and we want to share a little bit with you about some of the new programs that are happening at Esalen. We're chatting with change agents. We swim deep waters. This is an ongoing exploration of human potential. And so with that, our guest today is Robin Wilner. She's the first ever yoga teacher in residence at Esalen. She's a master yogi based in San Francisco, also a certified holistic nutritionist. She is the co-founder of Spellbound Yoga Teacher Trainings. And in full disclosure, I have to say that Robin and I do know each other from the yoga world. So just so you know. Hello, Robin. How are you?
Hi, Christine. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy to have you. Can you let us know how things are that Esalen is back open? It's been open for a couple months now, right?
Yes, and hopefully you can get a little bit of the sense of what is behind me, which is Esalen. I am sitting here on this beautiful deck, and one of the best things about being reopened and reconnecting with this incredible space is being outside, being in nature. And my full disclosure, I had never been to Esalen until about 5 weeks ago, so I hear stories of the incredible energy that has filled this space, the amount of people that have filled this space, and the conversations that have happened here. And while that energy still exists and we can feel that vibration around us, it's almost as if we have a taste of Esalen by ourselves. So it's been really interesting to go inward and feel the vibrations and create new ones in this incredible space.
Yeah, and I know that so much has been done to adapt Esalen on property for COVID compliance. You have some of that happening in your yoga classes, which we'll get to in a moment. So we want to just show people what it actually looks like because the beauty is still there. You took some beautiful pictures that I want to share. These are so gorgeous. There's you, beautiful again. Tell me what's happening in some of these photos as you're on property.
Oh, this photo is so special to me. So just to my right, actually, is an incredible pathway at the back of the Murphy house, one of the co-founders' homes. And it leads to this incredible lily pond, which you can't see in this picture, but I have been sitting on this chair every morning having my breakfast, as you can see here. And of course, this picture was taken with a selfie stick, I just have to say, because, you know, we're mostly by ourselves. But I sit and I do what I call listening to the ocean in the morning. And this is my ritual practice before I start teaching. And it's just been so calming and delightful to look, as you can see, at this vast open water and the rocks. And you might be able to see sitting right on top of the rocks, these incredible birds that sit there every morning. And I just stare at them and wish I was out there. So this is one of my favorite spots.
When you said you're mostly alone, that's some of what is shown in this picture. Because we're in the time of COVID and we're reopening and doing what we can to stay safe, there is a lot of distance between all in terms of physical space, but the closeness that I imagine that you're getting with yourself during this time is pretty incredible. Can you describe what this is right now?
Yes, and thank you for bringing that up, Christine. It is absolutely magnificent to be in this place of awe and wonder and be by your oneself. As you can see, again, I had this whole pool. The pool is heated, and so even though it's a little chilly out, I was able to swim and contemplate. And this was actually the very first week that we reopened. So we had about, I think, 16 guests and very few staff. So as you can imagine, spread out across this vast property, we do spend much of our time either in pods, so folks are coming together as partnerships, or alone. So it allows for a lot of introspection and, you know, moments of just drawing in and taking it all in.
Hmm. And as Eslen's first ever teacher, yoga teacher in residence, part of your goal and your role is to guide the Rituals of Esalen, which is a new program that's been happening right now and has involved the idea of COVID compliance in it and the journey that guests will take when they arrive. Can you describe a little bit about what it's like, what it is, and what it's like when you arrive?
Yes. So the first thing I just want to acknowledge is being COVID compliant means that we're doing yoga outdoors, which is actually new for us here at Esalen. So it comes with some really interesting challenges, but also is beautiful in that we get to experience so much of our daily life here at Esalen outside. And so what we do is we gather in a welcoming circle on day one. So after everyone's come in, arrived on the property and settled into the space, we come together. And one of the big ideas that I offered to those watching and also to guests who come in is that the rituals of Esalen are not a big secret that we have here, that it's like we're not, sharing or disclosing to anyone until they get here. The rituals of Esalen are about taking your time on a journey through the space and making your experiences sacred. So to me, a ritual practice means we're doing something that we would otherwise do regularly and maybe without as much mindfulness, and we're ritualizing it by bringing that awareness to the activity. And the ritual comes in the daily practice. So you can think about walking on this property and seeing the trees and the water and listening to the sounds and making that a little bit more mindful. And also, yes, exactly, the movement we ritualize by experiencing yoga asana and meditation and breathing daily, and ritualizing it by making it sacred. And this is a beautiful shot of our yoga practices on the Murphy House lawn. And as you can see here, we're very spread out. So there's a lot of space between folks. And the ocean is right there. So there's a real connection to nature. You're breathing fresh air, and all of this can become part of that ritual practice. And as I mentioned to folks when they come in, you can think of, oh goodness, you can think of all the ways that you move. This is a yin posture, and yin is an opportunity for us to move into a cooling, nurturing side of the practice and really consciously release the effort of the body and come into a meditative space. So we do this in the evenings, yin, so that we're moving with the moon energy versus the yang energy of the sun. And again, as I was mentioning, this idea of being in ritual, Christine, is something like brushing your teeth. Think about how many hundreds or thousands of times we might have brushed our teeth, right? And yet, if we were to come to that activity with an awareness of how we're helping this health of our mouth and our teeth for a long-term vitality, then we become more aware of what we're doing, and that 2 minutes becomes ritualized. So with that idea in mind, that's what we're doing with yoga or bathing in the hot springs or eating the yummy food here. Everything becomes a ritual with it.
We saw the space around each mat in the outdoor yoga practices, and then when they have to move inside because of whether it's winter, there's space that's still observed and heat lamps that are brought in. Can you tell us about some of the ways that you have had to stay flexible as the guide for Rituals of Esalen?
Yes, so we're actually not quite indoors yet due to the Monterey County guidelines, but of course we've thought outside the box. So what we have in our beautiful lodge deck area is a tent that covers us. We weren't expecting rain, and there was a moment where suddenly the rain came. So of course we had that moment of, where do we go when it rains if we can't go inside? So beautifully, there was a moment where minds came together and this tent was put up on the lodge deck. So actually, in the evenings, we have our practices there because the temperature has dropped. We have heat lamps and we turn them on. And what's so great is you can see the sun setting, and now it sets pretty early. So it's almost at about 4:45 now. So we'll practice between 4 and 5, and there'll be an integration of watching the sun setting while we're on the lodge deck. And it's just become really, really stunning to be, as you said, in this group setting. Even though we are spread apart, we still enjoy the moments together.
And the daily meals and the hot springs are booking so that there is a respect of space. And things do change, and we've had to change. The whole world has had to change due to COVID, but the scenery is still there. And part of what we're doing here on Esalen Life to bring you some of these photos and some of this experience with Robin is that we know that things are changing and working to adapt to bring more people into the experience of Esalen, even digitally into the future. But for now, this is what we're working with. The hot springs are still open. The beautiful sunsets are still there. And I know that part of the rituals of Esalen for you is the journey through the chakras. Can you guide us and have an experience with us right now, if you don't mind, some of what you would guide the students through, so some that are watching on Facebook Live can practice with you and also experience it live?
Yeah, so just to give you some context of what this means, um, the chakras are these great energy centers or wheels along our spine. And I teach through the 7 chakra Hindu model. So what we do is tend to the foundation on the first day, which is the legs and what we hold ourselves up on. And then we move along the channel of the spine, each class. So what happens is the more we get to know our chakra system, this great subtle energy informational system, the more we really get to know ourselves. So the chakras are associated with elements in nature and vibrational sounds and feelings that we might have emotionally and sensations we'll have physically, the way the organs move. So each practice takes us on this journey, if you will, specifically through each of the 7. So the idea is it's almost like stacking. Oh, I love this picture. Taking those lights and you're stacking the energy one on top of the other. And the idea is to reach this awakened bliss state when we're in a complete, balanced and harmonious way. So
why is space such a huge part of the practice right now, Robin? I mean, we moved to this place where we have like infinite space, infinite potential, human potential. Why is that so important, especially right now?
Such a good question, Christine. You know, this world that we're living in now is so unusual, right? A pandemic is not new, but it is to us in our lifetime, and it's caused us to really become isolated. I think I can speak from personal experience. When we're sheltered in place, we're in very small spaces, right? I might be in a 1-bedroom apartment alone and not, as interactive with my community and people. Maybe we're in a pod with a partner or 2. And so it can feel like we've lost this ability to expand. And to me, that's what spaciousness, as you mentioned, means. And it's very challenging to sit with ourselves and go inward when we feel physically closed off and find the spaciousness inside, which is ultimately what it is. So to be here in a place that quite literally is infinitely spacious, I think is an easier way for folks to access that feeling inside. I have the ocean hitting the cliffs and this feeling of expansion and magnificence is something that we can have inward. So, even if we just sit and close our eyes and imagine being here, imagine being at Esalen or being right at the edge of the coast with mountains and cliffs and trees, there's a sense of feeling as if you're there. And that is where we can, I think, expand more into that infinite spaciousness that we're really craving when we feel so isolated in this strange time.
Would you mind if we move a little bit? Can you show us a little bit of the movement?
Of course.
This is something, if you're watching on Facebook Live at home, if you're watching at Facebook Live at home, you can move with us. Robin's going to guide us, I think, through something that you can do just where you are sitting right now, right?
100%. So I'm actually just sitting in a chair. So what I hope is, if you are sitting in a chair, you can just plant your feet right on the ground. If you're actually somewhere at home where you can access being on the ground, you can sit comfortably with your ankles crossed. And then just take an opening of your arms out and maybe up over your head. Deep breath. Now interlace your middle fingers and place them right behind your head like so. And Christine, you'll probably enjoy this as much as I, because we're sitting in chairs. So there's this feeling, again, we just spoke of it, of expansion across the heart space, which is the center of the chest. And as the fingers pull apart, inevitably we're opening across the arm lines as well. So you can breathe a little more deeply because the lung space is open. Yeah, beautiful. And then just release your arms and bring them down onto your lap and take some circles of the chest. So I realize if you're watching me, I might be moving in a different direction as you, and that's okay too. But think of your pelvis and your legs as being your foundation, very stable. And your upper body is almost like the ladle stirring a pot. So you start to feel a little more fluidity and freedom while you feel the solid stability of your foundation. And just reverse it so you can go the other way. And by the way, these are great little tricks to do from home when you're feeling a little stuck. Yeah.
I feel awesome just doing just a few little things, you know. I think
Yeah,
one of the things I
exactly.
want to ask you, and I have some questions coming in also, is that anyone can do this, right? You can just move a little and there's a benefit to it.
Yeah, for sure. And you can even take a little twist. So I'm twisting to my right. So you want to twist to the right for digestion. So when we twist to our right, there's a little squeezing of the ascending colon, and we want that to happen first when we twist. And I'm just using my chair arm as a little leverage. And you can twist if you're sitting on the floor, just over to your right, and then switch, twist over to your left side. So now we twist away from the direction the ascending colon was being compressed. That decompression allows for fluid to rush in, so that will help with digestion. And then one last thing that I can help you with, again, especially because we're sitting in chairs, just interlace your hands behind your head one last time, but all fingers. Bring your elbows in and just drop your chin towards your throat. So there's just a little bit of a rounding of the upper back. Now knit your ribs back and in, and your belly back and in, just so that you find some more of that stability in your spine, and drop the chin a little closer to your throat and let your shoulders drop. And the last thing is you can put a little pressure of your head into your hands and your hands into your head, and you should feel that really beautiful stretch in the back of your neck. And then just come on back up and release. And we're just getting the head to settle back on the rest of the spine. Hopefully you feel a little taller.
Yeah, I did, as you know, Robin, I have like a cervical spine issue, so I just did a little less of
Yeah.
that. So if some of
Yeah,
you are watching at home, if you have something in the neck that's a little bit tender, just do it a little bit less. So,
exactly.
Robin, what's been bringing you awe as you've been there? Because this
Mm.
is a really challenging time. Everyone's changing the way we do things. Esalen will be launching and announcing a lot of new things in the coming months to try and bring more of the Esalen vibe off property and into the home, and then bring people from the home and into the property in a whole new way. It does take time, but for now, while you have the privilege of being there and guiding the yogis that are able to come, what's been the sense of awe that you've been feeling?
I had not interacted with human beings in a yoga setting for about 8 months. And to me, the gift and the awe came from reconnecting to people and being able to be spread out across this beautiful lawn while we're practicing, or in the lodge, or even just as we're passing on paths, and to stop and have conversations, and to stick around after class and to find out where are people from and what has their experience been like wherever they're coming in from, and what is it that they want to feel when they leave, and how are they getting there. I have found awe and a lot of hope, I would say, in reconnecting to people, and recognizing that there is a community, even though it is so different. As you mentioned, the community is still here, the energy is still here. There's so many stories, and everyone has their own experience to share. And it's been reminding me that I'm not alone, that I'm not so isolated in this time that can feel that way, that there are other humans sharing my hopes and my dreams and my fears and such. So that's where the awe, I think, really comes in.
Robin, that's so sweetly said. I mean, so we've had to adapt and change so much over these last few months, and it definitely is such a beautiful offering that you've offered the practice of yoga, mindfulness, meditation, and your presence there to be able to help us navigate these times. It's just a fully different time, and it's so clear that your passion for yoga is so helpful.
Yeah.
Well, I know that the guests have really enjoyed being with you and being guided by you. And so the welcome mat is always out. Robin Wilner, our first ever Esalen teacher in residence. Thanks for piloting it with us. So much change,
Yes.
and it's been great to have you.
Thank you so much, Christine, and thank you for having me today. It's been a pleasure.